Hey, Shalom. Want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BaHaSham, Yahawashi, BaHaSham, Rawchaa, Qadash. Double honors to my apostles and bishops of GreatMillStone who rule well. Salutations to the Lord's hopeful elect scattered abroad. All right, I'm the brother Taz of War, and this is the book of Hebrews, chapter 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. All right, I have two videos I like to share. Thought it was very interesting, and brothers could leave you your comments and thoughts in the comment board. And the first video speaks for itself, and then the second one, just beware. All right, the guy he mentions Jesus Christ, and we all know the true name of the Messiah in the scriptures, which is our Lord. His true name is Yahawashi, and the Father's name is Yahawah. All right, another thing he said in the video, like he threw shots, he threw jabs or something, I guess at us, I'm not sure, because he said, guys, prophets on YouTube or something like that. But you could watch the video for yourself. Just leave your thoughts and comments in the comment board. Shalom.
Who work numbers. I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. You better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks. Who work numbers. I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. You better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks.
Deep contacts with the military, deep contacts with banking, money. He's written at least a dozen books. He's a filmmaker. It's Steve Quayle. Steve Quayle, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Well, Greg, thank you for having me on. And this is probably one of the most important shows we could be doing, because when we used to do shows about the advanced meltdown of this, World War III in the future, nothing's in the future. It's my opinion that we are living in the end of days, not the end of the world, and we're living in the most biblically accurate times as declared by the prophets in the Old Testament, as declared by Jesus Christ himself, and as detailed in the book of Revelation. So we're watching right now, Greg, in my opinion, and I think the world's situations are demonstrating that everything people used to put their trust in and faith in this system, in this, in that, it's collapsing around us. And what's so telling and compelling is the situation. There's a proverb that says, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? We're watching the foundational biggest banks in history, especially Credit Suisse, as well as others that are going to be absolutely worthless. And as they crash, they take down the whole system. And that's why Western banking is under attack. The Saudis and everybody of consequential financial assets are pulling out of the Western banking system. And they're pulling out of the Western banking system both in Great Britain, the United States. Obviously, they've already pulled out of Switzerland. And Switzerland, when they went along, they abandoned their bank neutrality. They turned on Russia with the most sanctimonious sanctions.
Awful.
Basically,
awful. Go ahead.
The Swiss banks, and I'm telling you this, I'm on record, I'll stand by it. Swiss banking is dead forever based on what they did when they disassociated themselves from their bank secrecy. So, Greg, we're at World War III, literally. We're at the time where we have made the state in the West, we're going to ship depleted uranium into the battlefield. Russia just announced again today, multiple times, multiple spokespeople, that they will consider that the use of radiological dirty bombs, and they will respond with their nuclear arsenal.
This is, I found out also, this is Saturday, so we found out last week that that Credit Suisse, that deal is with Swiss National Bank. They're out. No. They don't want to do it. I mean, that was supposed to save the banking world. Nope. Do you have some contacts with what's going on in Switzerland with this bank? I know you do, and you can't name them because they get fired or they'd get persecuted. Well, what's going on with the whole Credit Suisse deal in the Swiss National Bank?
Well, first of all, let's start out with when Switzerland made the most tragic mistake in stealing, and that's what it was, the Russian billionaires' assets, freezing Russian state funds. And I'm on record. Look, I believe the scripture that you can't sanctify stealing other people's stuff. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife or anything that is thy neighbor's. And what Russia has is a memory of the Western banks destroying Tsar Nicholas's entire kingdom by the Western banks plundering Russia. That's exactly what President Putin, Medvedev has been saying. All of the people that know the history of Russia, they see, and they've already talked about it, they know that the West has already partitioned off and sold off Russian assets. They haven't done it in fact, but that's what they're going to do. Russia says, you guys are all, the West is an existential threat to our existence. Russia and China, as you know, on Thursday, decided that they are going to go ahead and they are going to basically come into agreement. They're going to settle their oil trades in yuan. They're going to settle their financial trades in the gold-backed ruble. By the way, I've been a gold dealer for 40 years. I believe when President Putin put a floor of $32, back up. When he put the floor on gold at $50 per gram, he put a floor on gold at $1,600 per ounce. As you know, Greg, gold on Thursday hit $2,005 an ounce. It went over it was hovering around $1,980, then down to $1,920 per ounce. But what people need to understand, he introduced a just measure. And that's what I think people don't understand. T-bills, T-bonds, T-notes, everybody said, T-off. We're not buying any of that stuff anymore. And I've been told that the official discount rate on that stuff when China off $230 billion, I think Wednesday or Thursday, is 15 cents on the dollar. 15 cents on the dollar. That's an 85 point devaluation. And it's interesting because in the book of Revelation, it talks about Mystery Babylon. I believe the United States is Mystery Babylon, and no nation buys her goods any longer. Well, obviously, we have to put into perspective, this is the nation that, number one, declared war on God, the Democrats, and the spineless Republicans, but more importantly is embracing Satanism, is embracing witchcraft, it's embracing LGBTQXYZ. It's embracing everything. Now, let me ask you this, Greg. As a Christian, President Putin is saying you need Western Christianity. You need the family structure. You don't sexually mutilate kids, and we will not allow the entire deranged LGBTQXYZ, I'm just throwing those in, XYZ, in case there's something I don't know about that's coming along. And so that is a heinous thing to the Luciferian globalists that are represented by Klaus Schwab and Yuval Harari and the others. Bill Gates, absolutely, he's talking about another pandemic. And people, I'm telling you, please, everybody who sees this podcast, I'm pleading with you, don't settle for a false narrative, false science, and the Bravo Sierra that wants you to cooperate in your own death.
You are a gold dealer, and gold is, listen, this isn't just, I would like to buy me a silver eagle at Bob's coin store. This is big money fleeing paper currency. They're fleeing it all. They're fleeing the euro. They're fleeing the dollar. They're fleeing currency. And are we going to have? Are we getting to the point of unobtainium in the gold market? You've been selling gold. This is one of the things you do. You're a gold seller for the last 40 years. Where are we at with how the systems? Is the system going to hold together? When is gold going to become unobtainium, where you won't be able to get it?
Well, really soon now. I've been at it for 40 years. For the last 3 months prior to March 1st, the gold business was pretty flat across the country. There's plenty of inventory, very little interest, very little buying. As of Thursday, when I check my sources. I check sources overseas. Like, I don't ever sleep, and thank God, at least I get a couple hours, and that's not an exaggeration. But for instance, gold right now, this just happens to be a 1 ounce gold ingot, Royal Canadian Mint. Right now, it's 4 weeks back order. Canadian maple leaves, U.S. gold eagles, and what's interesting, these are on back order. Canadian silver, U.S. silver, and we were talking, Greg. Right now, a U.S. silver eagle is at least almost getting close to $18 over spot. And this is what I don't think people understand. They will, at some time, the major mints refuse to take U.S. dollars for their product. And so you talk about unobtainium, let's just say this. I'd put the word hyper unobtainium. It's going to disappear. That's not a sale pitch, that's reality. So when I see 4 week back orders, you and I will be talking in this broadcast about how soon we think the whole U.S., Western Europe, NATO may go to war with Russia because they're already announcing it. I think it's Clayton Morris on a Redacted News, excellent investigator, excellent broadcaster, and he's quoting the sources that are saying, oh yes, NATO's going to launch a preemptive attack against Russia. Now, I don't think Russian intelligence is stupid. They don't know what's going on. They don't know when
is that going to happen,
Steve? The name of the pilots flying the bombers, U.S. bombers.
Steve, when is that going to happen? When are they going to have this preemptive strike, according to your sources?
According to the source that Clayton Morris is quoting, next 2 to 3 weeks. And America, Greg, has no civil defense. The only thing we seem to have is global offense. We have no civil defense. Russia can move the entire population of Moscow into their bunkers or subways. And here's something most people don't understand. Civil defense is a very important component in winning any nuclear war. Russia knows the benefit of it. They've done it since the Cold War, meaning being able to move their people into civil defense shelters. And I believe that this is getting close to the Ezekiel 38-39 war, where it even talks about radioactivity in the Bible, in the Old Testament, that people will have to go through and put little flags on piles of nuclear waste because it's still radioactive. So in 2 to 3 weeks, according to the Russians. Now, one more thing. The Russians announced the United States after 2 nuclear bombers, B-52 Stratofortresses, came within 10 miles of the Russian border that they are going to launch. This is real. The Russians announced that they're going to take 4 of their hypersonic missiles. Some people say 6. There's SLBM, submarine launched ballistic missiles. They're going to have dummy warheads, and they're going to launch them towards the West Coast to prove to the West they can take it out. And they're going to do that as a demonstration. Now, here's the question. What happens, Greg, if they're not dummy warheads, or if somebody at Pentagon says, well, this is just a ruse, and we fire the real, and then there are 2 other Russian subs ready to just unload? And that's even prophecy. There's so much prophecy. I'm talking real prophecy. I'm not talking the YouTube prophets and the prophetesses that are just coming on as Johnny and Jilly after the fact. So this is really tense.
Let's come back to 2 to 3 weeks. You were going to say before you said about the Russia launching these dummy warheads. 2 to 3 weeks, what?
That NATO, the word is out there from NATO sources that we, the West, is going to launch. That we're going to absolutely launch a nuclear response, or actually an attack on Russia.
Hold on, you froze there. Hold on.
Listen,
wait, you froze.
Here's the deal.
Wait. Hold on, you froze. Going to launch a nuclear attack on Russia in 2 to 3 weeks. Finish that thought.
Well, I did. That's
well,
what
you were.
That's what. No. What? That's what I did finish it. That's what the a person in NATO or close to NATO said, and that's what's being reported. Wow. And that's what was on Redacted News with Clayton Morris, and he actually quoted the source. And I'm just telling you, point blank, that's in 2 to 3 weeks. Russia's going to, I would say, knowing that time frame, they will. Let's say this: they will demonstrate to the Western world that they're serious when their SLBM, submarine launched ballistic missiles, hypersonic, are launched, and in 90 seconds, I don't know where they're going to land the dummy warheads in the ocean, or they're going to land them in the deserts around Area 51 or Palmdale, wherever those dummy warheads hit. Then that's going to prove, and I hope it proves, you guys don't want to do with it. So knowing if that 2 to 3 weeks, Greg, that's not my source, that's their source, but I was able to verify through my source that the dummy warheads is real, okay? So
Wow.
if that's real, that really concerns me. So guess what? Russia can launch and take out the West Coast in 90 seconds with their hypersonic missiles. I am not a Russian agent. I have lived in the world of civil defense. I have lived in the world of missiles and counter missiles. Again, you cannot just dismiss the fact that we're launching our, quote, nuclear bombing runs. Obviously, we know the situation where we lost a Reaper, a drone, and all that. And then we're seeing our B-52s now escorted by a half a dozen different aircraft jet fighter escorts. And technically, that plan of battle is when you mean business. So that's a show of force. Are you kidding me? A show of force? We have watched the Russians and what they call their black hole submarines surface next to an aircraft carrier. This has really happened. And then submerge, and the aircraft carrier can't track them. They're that silent. And, that'd be pretty unnerving. You're sitting out on a naval aircraft carrier, and all of a sudden you see a Russian sub there, and again, we've watched, if you will, the entire communication, command control and communication, C3 taken down over the Ukraine. That was demonstrated, I think, about a month ago. No communications, no radar coverage, and the ASATs, the anti-satellite weapon systems, were in full effect. So here's what I'm saying, the perilous times. Jesus spoke about perilous times. Jesus spoke about the times when nation would be rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, Matthew 24. That word nation against nation is ethnos against ethnos. We're watching the provocation of an ethnic war even within the United States. A house divided cannot stand. And then we just had the announcement that from the border, listen, I'm giving a reality check to the people that want to go out and start World War III against China and Russia, our government, and they're allowing Chinese military in through our southern border. My sources say there are 500,000 Chinese military in the United States within the borders at this moment of March 25th.
Wow. Well, listen, I know that you're a spokesperson for the Satellite Phone Store. They are also a sponsor for my website, but I got to tell you, to have some kind of a alternate communication, this is, I think, you got to have it. This is the Bivy stick that comes with this smartphone that comes with it. That's the deal. Takes your smartphone, the one that they'll give you, and turn it into a satellite texting device. And the other thing is this sat phone, which I can't believe they have back. That's just, both of them are $89.95 a month. You end up with the device. This is a 15-month deal. They give you a discount if you pay entire amount up front because of all this banking stuff going on. Tell me why this is so important. I mean, if we get into a war situation, or if a hacking situation, or an attack where you need a Faraday cage.
Yeah, a grid down situation. First of all, the neat thing about the Bivy stick is it comes with a phone that the Satellite Phone Store gives you that's already hooked up. Basically, you just got to sync your Bivy stick with the phone. Well, they don't even mess around with that. Everything is preloaded. So the Bivy stick is satellite to satellite communication using the Bivy stick as a transmitter and a receiver. So that's pretty neat. And I came up with a slogan. And I have them. I travel with my cell phone. I travel with Bivy stick. The point is that we're in a time period where we're seeing it. We're seeing the down detector I think.com, showing power outages. Look at California and the what's going on there. I think 250,000 people in San Francisco, 118 mile an hour per wind. So if I want to call Greg Hunter, and let's say I'm in San Francisco, I can go up to the satellite, go to Greg, wherever he's at any time. He can communicate back to me. And if the cell towers are out and they're blowing to hell and back, I can still communicate with Greg, because a cell phone is only the keypad in the, let's say, receiving screen for the bivy stick. The bivy stick doesn't have any screen. Tina's the owner of the satellite phone store. They got 1,000 of these phones. We were warning everybody that these were available only for a certain amount of time. I think about a year ago, they were unavailable. And ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people are emailing me, asking me, here is the deal. If they take down the credit cards, and credit cards are really a critical thing, because there is a plan to lock out all credit cards if a financial statement or financial condition gets to a certain point. If you want to pay for a 12-month contract upfront or a 24-month, they'll give you 5% and 10% off. In essence, if you're worried about, well, what happens with my credit card? I want to be able to call Steve, or I want to be able to call Greg, or Greg says I want to be able to call whoever. Well, you can prepay it, and there's a lot of neat stuff that goes in the background of the satellite phone store that I just can't share because I'm not free to. But believe me, they understand where their uploading and uplinking stations need to be. So if you lose communication, it starts to play on your mind. And I want to say this. This is the best psychological part of a survival plan. By the way, these have to be used outside, or you have to have an indoor antenna. You have to go outside and use the satellite phone. And when you're, in any type of situation, it's really critical. You can't be shut off of this. If you don't pay your bill on this, a hell phone, I got one, you can be shut down, and you can also be selectively targeted. This provides you a greater degree of non-trackability. This can go within 50 miles. Everybody who was arrested over the January 6th proximity that never even entered into the Capitol building, Greg, they were arrested by the cell fence.
Everyone my gosh.
Tracked real time by their cell phone. Every one of them.
And here's some of the other stuff that come with it. You can get one of these. I'm just going to go full screen. You can chime in whenever you want. This is a Faraday bag. They also call it Go Dark. You put your tablet in here, or a smartphone or anything, and it's dark. It will not. Same thing with a smaller version here. It goes completely. It's a Faraday bag. They also have this, and I'm glad to get it. They have this also some solar panel devices, so you can charge your stuff up. So if you lose power, you can get stuff like this from, of course, the satellite phones. That's their logo, the satellite phone store. And then also, it took me a while to get this, but I think this is cool. If you're talking about, having to rough it, they have this electronic lighter, right? And it's weird. I'm just going to hold it up for you. And this comes with it free too. This is another freebie. So you have this. There's no match, but you can just do this. Oh yeah, it'll it'll. Oh, sorry. But this lighter is one of the freebies that they sweeten the pot with, along with all the other stuff. It's just it's a satellite phone store, and I know you're the spokesperson for it, but in this case, this is part of the preparation. You got to have communications.